Okay, I am going to create this short little instruction video, and normally I would go completely through the rest of Unit 5 chapter. I'm going to hit the high points, and if you have any questions, then email me, and I will get to those either later tonight or tomorrow. I have added some things here that I want to show you where I had several people letting me know that I didn't correct the payroll quiz, or I'm sorry, the quiz sheet that I did on my first lecture. So what I have done is I have added a page here that tells you these are the Python scripts for the ones done in class and on the class lecture. It includes payroll.py, which I did on my Wednesday class, and quizsheet.py, which was done on Monday that I didn't get working. Well, in this zipped file, you'll find all of these work, and they are done in PyCharm. So you can download them here and check yours against that. And if you'll notice on this module assignment in module 3 here, it says payroll or quiz sheet for the 10 points that has to be loaded by the 21st by midnight tonight. But what you'll notice is that you don't have to upload them both, just place one or the other in there depending upon which class you were in, or but it is good if those even that were in the class where I did the payroll, that you go ahead and look at this quiz sheet example, because it is a real good example of nested loops. Now, when I look into into MindTap, what I want to show you is the parts that we did not yet cover. We did talk about nested loops, and that's what that quiz sheet was about. Now, if you don't understand that, please go back and watch that portion of the lecture last week. Something I have talked about numerous times, but I want you to remember these 3 parts: initializing the loop control variable, and also testing it and altering it. And so this section is very important to go through, even though I'm not going to go through it in lecture. Be sure you read this and understand what can happen, because when you start coding your own loops, like on the project and on your test 3, you will have these things happen. And so if you'll go back, this always tells you what has happened if you forget to alter the loop. And we've talked about it in class also. Using the wrong type of comparison when testing the loop, including statements inside the loop body that belong outside the loop. And remember, in Python, that can really be an issue because of the indentation. And so you have to be sure that you have inside the loop. For instance, you don't want to put into report or something inside the loop, because that would be after you drop out of the loop. Now, the thing that we didn't cover in this chapter, the using a for loop. It is a for statement, or a for loop is most often used with definite loops. And I did talk about this in class. We just didn't do any examples. But one thing that I want you to realize is that every for loop has those same 3 parts: initialized, tested, and altered. Therefore, that will be the difference between a for loop and a while loop. It still has those 3 same parts, but you put all 3 parts of those in the one statement. So it's kind of like a shortcut. And some students adapt really well to the for loop. Some do better with the while loop. And there is absolutely no standard for which you have to use. What you're going to see is that a for loop can express the same logic as a while statement, but in a more compact form. But here's what I was emphasizing. You never are required to use a for statement for any loop. A while loop can always be used instead. And here's an example of like when we were going to display hello 4 times, and we did it with the while loop. And this is the form the pseudocode would take, count equals 0. So we did the initialize step, we did the test step, and you notice this is pseudocode because we have no syntax over here. Output hello, then we incremented the counter, then we end the while loop. You'll notice that it only takes really, there's not an end for, so it only takes 2 lines of code to do the same thing if you understand a for loop. But as I'm saying, if you understand a while loop and this just makes no sense, then just understand that it's possible in other languages, especially if you're a programming major and you're going to be taking Java or C++ or C#. And even people in my multimedia class that say they want to be game developers. Well, C# is one of the big languages for game development. So you need to remember that, and it doesn't hurt for you to take that language if you really want to get into game design and game development. So in a for loop, it's for count equals 0 to 3, step 1. So that's the same as the count equals count plus 1, this step 1. And then this portion is the portion that tests the loop, because it says as long as it count is 0 to 3. So that's this portion. And then this part, it initializes and tests it in the same statement in a for. So you'll notice it explains all of this here. So I'm not going to go through it, but another thing that I have highlighted here is that the 3 actions, initializing, evaluating, and altering the loop control variable, are separated by semicolons within a set of parentheses that follow the keyword for. And that's actually in the languages Java, C++, and C#. So we're going to look at a for loop in Python too, because they do have one in your problems at the end of the chapter of MindTap. None of the 3 languages uses the keyword output, but all of them end output statements with a semicolon. So we don't have that. Now, the while loop and the for loop are called a pre-test loop. In other words, the loop control variable is tested before you can even go into one iteration of the loop. So that means if that test condition is false, then that means you won't even do the body of the loop one time. And some languages have another type of loop, and that's called a post-test loop. In Python, you cannot do a post-test loop. They just know it. All I can find out about it is that the people who developed Python could not ever agree on how to make a post-test loop. But what a post-test loop does is it says do while. So that means you can actually do the loop before you test it, and you test it at the bottom. And so basically, I just want you to know these are in other languages, and it's called post-test because you can actually do the body of the loop, then test the loop. So like here you would say, do wash a dish, and then so you're going to wash a dish first before you test it to see if you want to keep washing a dish. So that's called the post-test loop. And those are used in other languages. So there, on your Unit 5 test, there was questions on them, but I will not have you write those type of loops. So all structured loops, both pre-test and post-test, share 2 characteristics. The loop controlling evaluation must provide either the entry to or exit from the structure. The loop controlling evaluation provides the only entry to or exit from the structure. In other words, there is exactly one loop controlling evaluation, and it provides either the only entrance or only exit. So even though it does say some, you can go over some of this unstructured stuff because it will be on that Unit 5 test that you take. But here are some, it's showing you some examples of some common reasons to use a loop. And this one, you actually have a MindTap problem called accumulating totals using a loop. So if you go back to this particular example, you'll be able to do that one. So here's our template of where we say execute, get ready. Is address the same as quit? No. Create report. Go back and test the loop again. If it's not, if they don't have any other addresses, then finish up. So this is, again, is more of a procedure oriented, but here is important to notice for when you do that one in MindTap. Accumulators are initialized to 0. Accumulators are like total fields, like we've been using up to this point, like a subtotal or a final total. So you always want to initialize those to 0. Accumulators are altered usually once for every data set processed. So an accumulator could be a subtotal inside the loop body. And most often they're altered through addition. At the end of processing, accumulators are output. So it's saying each iteration of the loop, you're adding something to a total, so to speak. And when you drop out of the loop, then you're going to print that total. And then they talk about summary reports. But these are the things that I wanted you to, and then you also have a MindTap where you validate data. And this is the section of the unit that talks about that and gives you examples of that type of problem. So if we go over here, let me go back now to the actual problems and in the coding. And so if you'll notice, these start, and they say that they're due October 29th, but let me look here at the date again. They actually, I don't know why they say the 29th. I want you to be working on these. We will go over some of them. They should say the 28th. I want you working on these this week. And so I will also put some of the actual examples since we have until next Monday. If you have worked on them and you have completed the chapter, then we'll do as many as we can on the 28th. So I'm going to go in here and batch change these to say the 28th because that is actually when they should be due. Go. There is quite a few because I had someone, and they are all available now in. You'll see there's one on for loop, one on using a while loop and a break statement, nesting loops, and accumulating totals, and validating user input. So all of those, the date should actually show, oh yeah, the 28th, I don't know why it said the 29th out there. I thought it did. Dates have been updated. Let's see. Well, it doesn't appear that it updated it. Let me look. Edit activity. Due date. Oh, it does say due date here. So it must be that I have to refresh up there. So these should all now say the 28th. Let me make sure of that. So when you, well, I'm not certain what is happening here, but I will be back on the 24th, so it'll be after Wednesday class. But I will be there Thursday morning, and if any of you all have problems with any of these, I want you to work on these and also get that payroll and quiz sheet put in. And let me go to the modules to show you where we're going next. There is also we're going to work with that turtles program again. And so let me find that. But there are quite a few of these. That's why I want those, you all to work through them. And also this is the one that is due tonight too, the loops, while and for. And so this guy goes over the for loops also in Python. So that will show you how to set up those in Python. And I did mention this last time in the last video. When I get back next week, we're going to go over some more nested loop things and using the turtles. You'll see here we're going to do some nested loops and functions together, which is what test 3 will include. Then this is what it says. I know you notice on there it says November 25th, but it will be way before there. Let me go in here, fix that, because that's going to be, and it's not even available for you yet because I wanted to go over some other turtle stuff before. Okay, let me go back here. Those are going to be the 28th. So these will be probably the 4th of November. And like I was saying, those aren't available yet. So this week, you need to be working on all of these. And there's a couple of them that kind of give people some trouble. And so I will be glad to put those out there. But right now, I want you to work on those and go through that loops. Make sure you've uploaded the Sentinel loop, and done that video. And then I will see you guys next Monday, the 28th, and record the lecture then. If the online class or anyone else has questions, please email me. And also I will try to catch up grading over the weekend. I know I told you that last weekend, but I will get all those tests graded. So you all have a nice week, and see you on the 28th.